Good morning, people. Mr. Nolan's back. This is one of 3 videos today. So here's your first video. We're going to be talking about conversions for fractions, decimals, and percents. So these are the rules that you're going to have to use on your test coming up in a day or two. So let's say it has to go from fraction to decimal. So to go from a fraction to a decimal, all you do is tie bow, top in, bottom out. You're dividing. So let's see if we can do an example. Let's say we have 3/8. There's your fraction. It says to convert to a decimal. Well, do your top in, bottom out. Can 8 go into 3? No, it cannot. So there's your decimal on top. Add a 0. 8 can go into 30 3 times. Now, can 8 go into 6? No. But since I have a remainder, add a 0. 8 can go into 60 7 times. And that would give you 56. Can 8 go into 4? No, but again, since you have a remainder, add a 0. And then 8 can go into 40 5 times. And there you go. You just went from fraction to decimal. Okay. Now, what if it has to go from fraction to percent? There's 2 ways you can do fraction to percent. Okay. The first one is, I'm going to go off my 3/8 again. Look at your denominator. Can your denominator equally go into 100? Is 8 an equivalent? Can you make an equivalent fraction going from 8 to 100 using a whole number? No, you cannot. 8 will not go into 100 evenly. So on this one, you're going to go from fraction to decimal to percent. So again, top in, bottom out. I'm just going to quickly show the work from above. So again, if your denominator cannot go into 100 evenly, you have to go from fraction to decimal. Now we have to go from the decimal to the percent. Well, how do you go from decimal to percent? Well, that's easy. You take your decimal. I'm going to rewrite this as it looks ugly. You take your decimal and you move it 2 places to the right. 1, 2. Well, there you go. There's your answer. So, again, if your denominator cannot go into 100 evenly, you must convert from fraction to decimal and then decimal to the percent. The other way you can do it is if you have a denominator that can go into 100 evenly. So, for example, let's say you have, 7/20. Well, can't 20 go into 100 evenly? Well, yes it can. So here what you're going to do is you're going to make an equivalent fraction. Percents are out of 100. That's why I'm choosing a denominator of 100. Percents are always out of 100. So to go from 20 to 100, what did you do? Well, good. You had a scale factor of 5. You multiplied by 5. So what is 7 times 5? Well, that's 35. Now you have 35 over 100. Well, 35 over 100 is the same as 35%. There you go. You're done. Alright, so let's go and do another conversion. Let's go ahead and do decimal to fraction this time. Alright, so here we go. Decimal to fraction. Well, this is pretty easy. So let's say you have this. Say you have 0.61. I want to know, what is that as a fraction? Well, you start with the number given, which in this case is 61, and you put it over the place value. What's the place value of the 1? Well, good, it's hundredths. Can 61 over 100 be simplified? No, it cannot. So that's your answer. You're done. What happens if you had this one now? Well, this time, I have 2 wholes. So I'm going to show right here. I have 2 wholes, and then the number given after the decimal is 22. And what's the place value of that last 2? It is hundredths. So now we have 2 wholes and 22 hundredths, but you must simplify the fraction. If you notice, these are both even numbers, so they are both divisible by 2. So that would give you 2 wholes still. Half of 22 is 11. Half of $1 is 50 cents. That cannot be simplified anymore. So that would be your answer. Now let's say I want decimal to percent. Well, to convert a decimal to a percent, all you do is you take your decimal, move it 2 places to the right. 1, 2. Well, now you have 3%. That easy. What happens if you had this? $61.27. I want to convert that to a percent. Again, take your decimal, move it 2 places to the right. So now that is 6,127%. Now what happens if you have this? Ooh, a little bit trickier, not really, because all you do is take your decimal, move it 2 places to the right. So that would be 4.1%. You're done. Alright, let's go ahead and go to the last one now. Let's go from percent to fraction. Let's say we have 28%. Well, you have to go with the number given, and that goes on top. And you already told me percents are out of 100. Well, there's your percent, there's your fraction. Now you just have to simplify. Now, if you notice, they're both even numbers, so you can divide by 2. So let's go ahead and do that. So half of 28 is 14. Half of 100 is 50. Would you look at that? They're still even numbers. Divide by 2 again. So that would give you 7/25. There you go. Percent to fraction. Let's try another one. 3%. So what number is given? Well, 3 is given. Percents are out of 100. Can 3 over 100 be simplified? No, we can't. There's your answer. Nice and easy. Alright, the last one we're going to do is percents to decimals. So let's say I have 34%. Now if you notice, we have a whole number here for a percent. So you start by covering up your percent sign. We just now have the number 34. Do you see a decimal anywhere in this whole number? No, you don't. But if you have a whole number, you put the decimal at the very back. Now to go from a percent to a decimal, you take your decimal and move it 2 places to the left. 1, 2. So that becomes 0.34. There's your percent. There's your decimal. Well, let's say you have this. Okay. First step, cover up your percent sign. Now you're given 12.5. Now don't be one of those students that says, oh, I now have a decimal, that's my answer. No, you don't. That's not your answer. All you did was covered up the percent sign. Now how do you go from percent to decimal? You must move your decimal 2 places to the left. 1, 2. So the answer should be 0.125. Alright guys, I hope this video does help. These are just the rules for converting fractions, decimals, and percents. I will see y'all a little later. Bye.